with us right now. Senator, very good to have you. Obviously, Republicans aren't keen on any of this. They're not going to vote for any of this. Are you encouraged, at least by some of the signs that are out there, that at least the overall price tag is coming down?
Well, I suppose that's good, but it's a terrible time to raise taxes, and all of these proposals involve raising taxes and also increasing spending dramatically, and stimulus spending, Neil. And, you know, I've talked about this before, but this is the wrong time for a lot of reasons. One is it will increase the inflationary pressure we're already feeling. And Republicans and Democrats alike who look at this objectively, including Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary in the Obama years, say this is going to add more to the inflationary pressure. And then with regard to the debt and deficit, we are now at a point, as you know, that our debt as a percentage of our economy, which is probably how you ought to look at it, is at historic levels. So it's a whole lot more spending. 1.5 or 1.75 trillion is being portrayed as something moderate, sort of the compromise. Gosh, $1 billion is $1 trillion is $1,000 billion. I mean, it's amazing. We're throwing around trillions as if it's nothing. So anyway, by the way, I love your home studio. It's great to have you back with us. We missed you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You do raise a good thing about how numb we are to these numbers. I mean, 1 trillion, 2 trillion, that used to be the entire U.S. budget and then some. But leaving that aside, those days are gone a long time ago. We're looking at likely a record deficit when all is said and done after this additional spending, and there has been a move by some of your Republican colleagues maybe to bring back a balanced budget amendment or a push like that to keep spending within a certain percentage, or the debt, as you were mentioning, a percentage of the economy side and the budget side. But it never happens. You're leaving, and I know it's been a frustration for you, but do you worry that this will never be addressed?
I do. Look, I've got another 13 months and 2 weeks and 2 days and 4 hours.
Yeah, I didn't mean to push you out the door. I didn't mean to push you out the door.
No, but look, I'm going to continue to push on this issue of dealing with the long-term crisis that we're going to face if we don't own up to this debt and deficit. And you're right, this year we'll probably have the biggest deficit ever, depending on how big this package is, because it's on top of the 1.9 trillion we already did in March, which was the biggest legislative package ever, the highest cost ever. And now they're talking about this one, which, if it's a 2 trillion, it'll beat that. It'll be the biggest. If not, it'll be the second biggest. So these numbers, they are kind of mind-numbing, but on the other hand, they are really impactful as to what's going to happen long-term to our kids and our grandkids who are going to get left holding the bag. So we do need to focus on this, particularly on the entitlement spending. That's where most of the money is now being spent, 70% when you add interest on the debt. And that's the fastest growing part of our economy. So we've got to deal with it. If we don't, we will find ourselves in a financial crisis. And my hope is that in the context of the debt limit, we will do that. It's the only time we've really ever done it with any success. That you remember the caps and sequestration and Graham-Rudman and so on, those all came out of a debt limit discussion. So my hope is we can do that again in that context.
I didn't think you were old enough to remember that. I know I was. Let me ask you very quickly. I know my producer is going to get furious at me. Jerome Powell, whether the president in the next few days, a week or two, reappoints him, would you, if Jerome Powell were reappointed, would you vote for him in the Senate?
Yes, I would, because I think he's better than the alternative, and I think he does understand the need for us to address this inflation issue. I wish that the Fed would be a little more aggressive in dealing with it, but it's going to result in higher interest rates at some point, which is not something any of us want. But we've got to be sure that we are not continuing to grow the inflationary number
here and should be moving quickly to address this inflation problem. But even with that,
I think so. It is a terrible tax. It's a terrible tax on middle-class families and on, it's poor people who are really bearing the brunt of it. By the way, interesting number, Neil, I just learned, which is that during the last several months during the Biden administration, wages have gone down, not up, when adjusted for inflation, down about 1.9%. So that's the tax on people already, that they're already feeling. And so inflation is something that we need to focus on more, in my view.
Got it. Rob Portman, thank you very much. Senator Rob Portman of Ohio. And